What if I told you that Zambia's former First Lady, Esther Lungu, may be holding the darkest secret of all? A mystery that has left the nation divided and a burning question that no one dares to ask aloud. Why was Edgar Lungu's body linked to cremation? Tonight, we uncover the shocking truth that could change how Zambians remember their former president forever. Welcome to InspirAfrica Official, the channel where we break down Africa's biggest political mysteries, scandals, and untold stories. In today's documentary, we take you deep inside the Edgar Lungu Cremation mystery, exploring hidden motives, unanswered questions, and the shocking silence from those who should have the answers. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will shake Zambia to its core. Edgar Lungu's death has left Zambia asking one haunting question: why cremation? And why is Esther Lungu at the center of this storm? In this documentary-style investigation, we uncover the hidden story behind the cremation rumors, Esther Lungu's role in Zambia's biggest mystery, the political and family tensions this dark question has created, how this could reshape the legacy of Edgar Chagwa Lungu forever. Zambia deserves the truth, and tonight we expose it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to InspirAfrica Official for more breaking stories, powerful documentaries, and exclusive updates. The final hours, every mystery begins with a final chapter, and for Edgar Lungu, that chapter unfolded far away from Lusaka. In South Africa, the former Zambian president lived quietly, surrounded by loyal family members and a handful of trusted allies. His health had been in question for months, but official statements downplayed his condition. To the public, he was still strong, still the man who once commanded the highest office in the land. But behind closed doors, whispers told a different story. The last day began like any other. Yet by nightfall, everything had changed. Reports claim he collapsed suddenly. Others suggest he had been unwell for hours, but the family kept it hidden. Emergency doctors were rushed in, but the silence surrounding those moments has only deepened suspicion. Who was really present at his bedside? What conversations were had in those critical minutes? And most importantly, what was said by Edgar Lungu himself before his final breath? Almost immediately, the family took control of information. Statements were brief, carefully worded, and vague. No detailed medical report, no clear timeline, only fragments. To a grieving nation, it felt like more than privacy. It felt like secrecy. Why the rush? Why the silence? In the hours that followed, decisions were made that would shock Zambia. Instead of preparations for a state funeral, talk of cremation emerged, a choice that goes against the very core of Zambian tradition. For some, it looked like practicality. For others, it looked like a cover-up. The final hours of Edgar Lungu's life should have brought clarity, closure, and dignity. Instead, they opened the door to suspicion, anger, and the greatest mystery Zambia has faced in years. What really happened that night in South Africa? Was it a natural end, or the beginning of a story far darker than anyone imagined? The truth of those hours may be buried forever, but the questions they unleashed refused to die. A funeral without a body. When Edgar Lungu's death was confirmed, the nation expected what every Zambian funeral entailed: a body, a traditional ceremony, and a final goodbye. But what transpired next shocked even the most seasoned political observers. Instead of the typical public mourning, news began to spread that Lungu's body would not be returned to Zambia. A funeral without a body. It was an unprecedented move that left the entire country in disbelief. The Lungu family, still in mourning, remained tight-lipped about the decision. The government's silence added fuel to the fire, leaving Zambians with one haunting question: why? What followed was a whirlwind of speculation. Some claimed the body was too damaged to be returned. Others whispered of political manipulation, alleging that a cremation was being arranged to control the narrative. Was this a simple logistical issue, or a calculated move to obscure something much more sinister? In Zambian culture, funerals are sacred events. They are a moment to honor the deceased, to show respect, and to pay tribute to the legacy left behind. And yet, in a country steeped in tradition, the Lungu family made a choice that seemed almost defiant. While the world watched, Esther Lungu's silence became deafening. With every unanswered question, the mystery deepened. Was this just an isolated decision, or was it part of a larger strategy to erase the political footprint of a family that had once ruled Zambia with immense power? The absence of a body left an even bigger question looming over the nation. What did the Lungu family know that they weren't telling? And more importantly, what had been hidden from the people of Zambia, locked away behind a closed-door funeral that defied every tradition? This was more than just a funeral. It was the beginning of a political drama that would divide a nation, ignite fierce debate, and leave the people of Zambia with a haunting truth they could not yet understand. Esther's silence, Esther's voice in moments of crisis. Silence speaks louder than words. And in the days following Edgar Lungu's mysterious death, the silence of his widow, Esther Lungu, echoed across Zambia like thunder. The nation waited for her statement. Journalists crowded outside her residence, microphones ready. PF loyalists, clergy, and ordinary citizens all asked, "What will Esther say?" Yet for days, she said nothing. Her silence only deepened suspicion. Was she mourning in private, or was she hiding something far greater? Then suddenly, her silence broke. Esther Lungu spoke, and her words were not a sorrow alone. They were sharp, emotional, and defiant. She accused the state of harassment, of persecuting her family, and of seeking to erase her husband's legacy. Her speech changed everything. For some, she became the voice of resilience, a grieving widow standing boldly against the machinery of government. For others, her words sounded rehearsed, less about mourning and more about reclaiming political influence. Esther's timing fueled speculation. Why wait so long? Was she buying time to coordinate a strategy? Or was her grief simply too overwhelming to speak sooner? Her voice also raised uncomfortable questions about the cremation rumors. She never directly addressed them, yet her defiance seemed to confirm what many already feared, that there was something about Edgar Lungu's body, or the lack of it, that the family did not want revealed. With a single statement, Esther reshaped the debate. No longer was the story about the death of a former president. It was now about the survival of a dynasty, and whether Zambia was witnessing the rise of its newest political matriarch. But Esther's words also carried danger. Each accusation she hurled at the state risked pushing her further into the crosshairs. By breaking her silence, she had not just defended her husband's memory. She had declared war. The widow's voice had awakened the nation. But the question remained, was she fighting for truth or for power? The hidden motive, every mystery, hides a motive. And in the case of Edgar Lungu's death, many believe the real story lies not in how he died, but in what happened to his body afterward. Why cremation? Why silence? Why secrecy? At first glance, the explanation seemed simple. A grieving family's decision, perhaps influenced by practicality or private wishes. But in Zambia, a nation where burial traditions run deep, cremation raised red flags. It was not just unusual, it was suspicious. Whispers began to circulate. Some claimed the body held evidence of long-standing illness that contradicted the family's narrative of a sudden collapse. Others suggested a darker possibility, that the cremation would erase proof of political foul play. Could the body reveal a truth too explosive for the public to know? Behind closed doors, analysts spoke of international ties, whispers of medical trips, foreign dealings, and hidden wealth. A body tells stories through toxicology, through scars, through medical history. By cremating it, all evidence turns to ash. And then there was the political dimension. HH's government, already under pressure, faced accusations of mistreatment. If the body had revealed something damaging, it could destabilize not just the presidency, but Zambia's fragile stability. For Esther and the family, cremation could have been a shield, a way to protect dignity, avoid scandal, or conceal secrets that might otherwise haunt them. But motives are never so clean. For every explanation offered, 10 more questions arose. Was this about preserving Edgar Lungu's honor, or preserving the power of those who lived on after him? The mystery of the cremation is not just about one man's death. It is about what his body might have revealed, and why so many forces, family, government, even regional actors, may have wanted those truths to disappear. What is hidden in ashes cannot be uncovered, but the motive for hiding it will forever haunt Zambia. Tradition versus power in Zambia. Death is not just the end of a life, it is the continuation of tradition. Funerals are sacred. They bring families, communities, and the nation together. And burial, not cremation, has always been the final act of respect. But when whispers emerged that Edgar Lungu's body might not be buried in the land he once governed, shockwaves rippled across the country. To many Zambians, this was more than unusual. It was a betrayal of cultural heritage. Tradition demanded a public farewell, a body to mourn, a grave to visit. Without it, closure becomes impossible. The community feels robbed, and the ancestors left restless. In African spirituality, to deny burial is to deny belonging. Yet standing against centuries of tradition was something even stronger: power. The Lungu family, wielding silence and secrecy, challenged the expectations of an entire nation. Their decision hinted at control, defiance, and perhaps fear. Was the push for cremation a private family matter or a political calculation meant to rewrite how Lungu would be remembered? The clash between tradition and power divided Zambia. Some defended Esther, saying she had the right to choose what was best for her husband. Others argued that Edgar Lungu was not just a husband or a father. He was a former president, and his death was no longer a private affair, but a national one. This battle revealed more than grief. It exposed the tension between modern political power and ancient cultural expectations. A president's family may think they can decide his fate, but can they truly overrule the people's right to honor their leader in the traditional way? By choosing secrecy, the family ignited a cultural firestorm. Suddenly, the question was bigger than cremation. It was about identity, respect, and whether political power could bend even the deepest traditions. In the end, one truth became clear. The mystery of Edgar Lungu's death is not just about politics. It is about the soul of Zambia itself and whether tradition can survive in the shadow of power. Secrets in the ashes tell no stories. And perhaps that is why the debate over Edgar Lungu's rumored cremation has consumed Zambia with suspicion. A body carries evidence. It can confirm illness, reveal poisoning, or expose hidden truths that contradict official statements. But ashes erase everything. No autopsy, no second opinions, no chance for history to be corrected. From the very beginning, rumors swirled that the Lungu family pushed for cremation not out of respect, but out of fear. Fear of what the body might reveal. Fear of what doctors might say if given access. Fear of secrets too dangerous for the public to ever know. Some whispered of long-term illness, concealed from the people to project an image of strength. Others suggested foul play, a silent hand behind his sudden collapse. Still others speculated that international dealings, medical treatments abroad, or even toxic substances could have been uncovered if the body remained intact. To cremate is to control the narrative. It closes every door to investigation and leaves only one version of events standing, the family's. But that control came at a cost. Zambians began to ask the questions the family may have feared most. What was Esther Lungu hiding? Why did she resist calls for a traditional burial? Was this truly about dignity or about protecting legacies, reputations, and hidden truths? And in politics, timing is everything. The cremation controversy erupted just as HH's government faced pressure over its treatment of the Lungu family. Could the decision to turn body into ash have shielded both family and state from scandal? Or did it simply fuel a fire that will never burn out? The ashes of Edgar Lungu may rest silently, but the secrets they conceal have given birth to endless speculation, distrust, and division. And so the nation asks the question that may never be answered. Did the fire consume only the body or the truth as well? The nation-divided death does not always bring unity. In Zambia, the passing of Edgar Lungu has instead opened wounds, sharpened rivalries, and divided a nation already fragile with political mistrust. For some, Lungu remains a father figure, a leader who, despite flaws, carried the burdens of the presidency during a turbulent era. His supporters demand respect for his legacy, insisting that even in death, he deserves dignity, honor, and national mourning. But for others, his memory is a reminder of hardship. They speak of corruption, collapsing institutions, and the pain of economic decline. To them, honoring Lungu as a statesman feels like an insult to the citizens who struggled under his rule. And at the center of this divide lies one burning question. How should Zambia remember Edgar Chagwa Lungu? The cremation mystery only deepened the split. For those already skeptical of the family, it became proof of deceit, evidence that something was being hidden. For loyalists, it was an act of protection, shielding their leader's dignity from political enemies eager to tarnish his image. In Lusaka, arguments spilled into churches, bars, and radio call-ins. Should his body, or what remained of it, be buried with full honors as a former head of state? Or should he be remembered as a man who failed to rise above the corruption and scandals of his time? Even political leaders seized the moment. HH's government faced accusations of exploiting the funeral saga to weaken the opposition. Meanwhile, PF loyalists used the controversy to portray the UPND as heartless, waging war even against the dead. But beneath the noise lies something deeper. Zambia's struggle with identity, justice, and truth. Can a nation reconcile the good and the bad of its leaders without tearing itself apart? Or will history always be written through the lens of partisan loyalty? Edgar Lungu's death was supposed to mark an end. Instead, it has become a mirror reflecting Zambia's divisions not only about a man, but about what the country itself should stand for. And as the ashes cool, the people remain restless. Because the fight is no longer about a body, it is about a legacy. The legacy at stake every leader leaves behind a shadow. For Edgar Lungu, that shadow now stretches across Zambia like a storm cloud, heavy with questions, unresolved controversies, and the haunting mystery of his final hours. Legacies are not built on achievements alone. They are shaped by perception, by memory, and by how a nation chooses to tell its story. In Lungu's case, the story is unfinished, contested, and bitterly divided. His supporters speak of infrastructure projects, empowerment programs, and a man who carried himself with humility. To them, his legacy should be preserved as that of a leader who tried, against immense challenges, to keep Zambia afloat. But his critics tell another tale. They remember shortages, economic collapse, and corruption scandals that weakened institutions. They argue that his rule represents a cautionary tale, a warning of what happens when power is held too tightly and accountability fades into silence. The cremation debate only amplified this struggle. If the body was indeed reduced to ashes, then the opportunity for forensic truth, for science to settle rumors, vanished with the smoke. What remains now are only narratives, competing stories, different truths, and perhaps that was the greatest risk of all. Because in politics, once the truth is consumed by fire, legacy becomes a battlefield. Every speech, every documentary, every headline, and every whispered rumor has the power to either elevate or destroy. For Esther Lungu and the family, the fight is deeply personal, preserving dignity, shielding loved ones, and ensuring the late president is remembered as more than just controversy. For HH and the UPND, the story is political, a chance to redefine Zambia's future by exposing the flaws of the past. But for ordinary Zambians, it is something else entirely. It is about healing, about asking whether the nation can rise above the politics of division and finally confront the truth, not to destroy, but to learn. Edgar Chagwa Lungu is gone, but his legacy? That battle has only just begun.